When you hear the word hacking, what's the first thing that pops in your head? Probably some shadowy figure in a hoodie, right? Hunched over a keyboard, green code just flying across a black screen. Well, the reality is so much more complex, way more disciplined, and honestly, a lot more fascinating. So let's deconstruct it. Let's pull back the curtain on hacking, from the Hollywood myth to the disciplined reality.
And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. Is a hacker just a digital criminal, a mastermind bent on chaos? Or are they a highly disciplined expert with a really unique way of solving problems? The answer, as we're about to see, is, well, they can be both. And understanding that duality, that line they walk, is absolutely key to navigating the world we live in today.
All right, first things first, let's talk about the threat. And I need you to forget everything you think you know about someone just, guessing your password. Today's attacks are incredibly sophisticated. They're subtle, and they are specifically designed to get around the very security measures we all rely on to keep us safe.
Now look, we've all seen those classic phishing emails, the ones with terrible grammar asking for our bank details. But this is something else entirely. This is smart phishing. It's a whole different ballgame, and it's built to beat even savvy users and their two-factor authentication. You know, that thing that's supposed to be your ultimate safety net where you need a code from your phone to log in?
So how in the world does it work? It's chillingly simple, and that's what makes it so effective. You get an email, maybe it looks like a brand deal, something exciting, and it takes you to a website that looks totally legit. You click Login with Google. Now, here's the scary part. The moment you type in your password and that 2FA code you just got on your phone, an automated script on the attacker's end is plugging them into the real Google site in real time. Before you can even realize something is wrong, the attacker is in. Your 2FA didn't just fail to save you, it was actually used against you.
And believe me, it gets weirder. The innovation in attacks just doesn't stop. There's something now called a dull key attack. Get this, an attacker can just feed an AI a photo of your keyboard. The AI analyzes which keys are the most worn down, the shiniest ones, and it cross-references that with some basic info about you. The result? A shockingly accurate list of your most likely passwords. It's just a wild reminder that vulnerabilities aren't always digital. They can be right there in the physical world too.
Okay, so we've seen how sophisticated these attacks can be. But how do hackers actually pull this stuff off? What does it look like on their end? Well, let's go inside the toolkit and take a look at the fundamental commands they use to go from the outside to full compromise.
At the very heart of almost everything is the command line. And what's so interesting here is the level of precision it demands. Think about the story of Alibaba, right? He had to say open sesame, not open sim, not please open. Any mistake, no matter how small, and that cave door stays shut. The command line is exactly the same. It needs precise, exact instructions. There's no room for error.
Most of us use a graphical user interface, a GUI. We click on folders, we drag files to the trash. It's visual, it's intuitive. Hackers, on the other hand, often live in the command line interface, or CLI. They are talking directly to the computer with text commands. It's definitely not as pretty, but it is infinitely more powerful and precise. It's like working directly on the engine instead of just using the steering wheel.
And a classic Wi-Fi hack is a perfect example of this precision in action. It's not magic, it's not a crazy flurry of typing like in the movies. It's a methodical, step-by-step process. First, you put your gear into monitor mode so it can listen to everything. Then, you scan for networks to find a target. The real key is capturing what's called the handshake. That's the tiny packet of encrypted data that flies by when a phone or laptop connects. Once you have that, you can take it offline and use a powerful computer to throw a dictionary of passwords at it until you find a match. It's a logical procedure, not some lucky guess.
So we've got the threats, we've got the tools. But what's the one thing that truly separates an expert from everyone else? It's not just what they know, it's their mindset. And this is where we really bust that Hollywood myth of the innate genius and look at the sheer discipline it takes to master this craft. A lot of people who try to get into this field get stuck in what they call tutorial hell. They just passively watch video after video. But real skill? That is forged in deliberate practice. It's the difference between watching a video about how to solve a Rubik's Cube and actually sitting there, struggling with it, failing, and figuring it out for yourself. The real learning happens in the struggle and in understanding why you failed. And this quote just says it all. Growth doesn't happen when you're comfortable. True expertise, in any field really, is built by consistently and intentionally tackling the problems you find hard, the ones you're tempted to put off.
That uncomfortable space, that is where potential becomes reality.
So this mindset isn't just a philosophy, it translates into very specific, concrete habits. We're talking about not just using tools, but building your own, so you understand them inside and out. It means legally testing your skills on real companies through bug bounty programs. It means constantly reading other people's code, competing in events to practice under pressure, and always staying curious. It is a non-stop cycle of active, deliberate learning.
So we've looked at the attacker's methods and the expert's mindset. So what's the big takeaway for you? It's actually pretty simple. Your absolute best defense is to understand and, in a way, learn to think just like the person on the other side of the screen.
Let's make this super simple. Think of your Wi-Fi security like a lock on your front door. The old standard, WEP, that's like a lock you can open with a paperclip. WPA2, which is what most of us probably have, is much better. But it's like a lock that a determined burglar can eventually pick by trying millions of keys. The goal, the one you want, is WPA3. That's the modern standard. And that's like putting a fingerprint scanner on your front door.
So here it is, your defense playbook. These are simple, actionable things you can do right now. Check if your router supports WPA3 and turn it on. Create passwords that are genuinely long and unique. I'm talking 20 characters or more. Always double-check that URL before you log in anywhere. And just be super careful on public Wi-Fi, because you never know who's running that network. These small habits are your strongest shield.
And all of this leaves us with one final thought. We've seen that real hacking isn't about some magic ability you're born with. It's about discipline, methodical process, and a relentless curiosity to understand how things work, so you can figure out how to break them. So as those attacks inevitably get smarter and more creative, maybe our best defense isn't just a better password, maybe it's fostering a little bit of that same curiosity ourselves.